Welcome back to First Last Podcast from the first, the last, the nerdum, where summer's heating up, the body count is rising, and we're once again proving that sending teenagers into the woods is almost never a good idea. That's right. Slasher summer continues. This week we're heading back to summer camp for the 1981 slasher classic, The Burning. Based on the urban legend of Cropsy, The Burning follows a group of campers who find themselves in the crosshairs of a horribly disfigured killer after a cruel prank goes disastrously wrong. A sin buried, kind of. Years later, Cropsy returns to the woods, and the campers of Camp Blackfoot are about to discover that campfire stories sometimes have a nasty habit of coming true. Directed by Tony Malum, The Burning has all the ingredients you'd expect from a classic summer camp slasher. Isolated woods, obnoxious campers, questionable counselors, a whole lot of bad decisions, and a killer with one of the most memorable weapons in slasher history, the garden shears. We'll be talking about the film's place in the golden age of the slasher, its memorable kills, its surprisingly impressive cast, and whether The Burning deserves to be considered one of the greater hidden gems of 80s horror. So grab your sleeping bag, stay away from the woods, and whatever you do, don't play a cruel prank on the guy who runs the camp. This is First Last Podcast, and Slasher Summer continues with The Burning, 1981.
Yeah, and who knew the real villain was going to turn out to be Harvey Weinstein? Plot twist! But we'll get into that a little later, I think.
We most definitely will get to that here. Okay, yeah, here we go. All right, well, move this guy over here and make sure it's sized well. All right, that's good enough. Yeah. So before we did, and yeah, I do have a couple comments on that too, because this is a very interesting checkpoint in history or intersection of being this film existing and whatnot. But first, who are these guys? What are we doing? We are the First Last Nerddom, and we have a little website, FirstLastNerddom.com, where you can see this. Of course, our home base is First Last Nerddom. And we are there on YouTube, and I just should refresh this, and you should see we're live. Good, we're live. You can see all of our great back catalog or content. We're up to 370. We're up with three. This is 379, 380 ish. Also, want to draw attention to our the most current. If you have a poll list, go check out our rack here of shorts that Tom so lovingly provides for his latest, and I'll let him talk on that for a moment.
Yeah, and I've been negligent. There's been some stuff I could have busted out there on the shorts, but I do have one from last week that I haven't posted it yet. I'll probably get that out tomorrow morning, hopefully, or later tonight. Who knows? But yeah, look forward to that on there. But yeah, I'm also, and then thanks for we picked up a couple of subscribers, so welcome to us. And then, but yeah, you can see me. I've got some socials. I hit up the Reddit, so you may be wandering over from there, and if you are, say hello. I post in subreddits that pertain to us. They don't always like us, but I've been having a good streak lately of not being deleted or removed. I'm also on X under FirstLastNerddom. I'm under FirstLastNerddom on both Reddit and X. But yeah, if you want to know the latest, greatest video that's out there, I'll post it there. Sometimes I'll do a little nerd posting, but nothing too controversial. So it's all safe spaces.
Yes, sir.
But yeah. So yeah, and I think Mike, you had a social.
Yeah, I too am also on X, but I'm not really promoting it anymore. I just would just going with my YouTube, and we'll see how that goes. At Suffolk Jewish on there, you can see me, and I'm also on X too, underscore after Suffolk Jewish. Occasionally we'll banter back and forth, but for now, we're in the land of the burning here, and
Mike, you picked this. I owned a copy of it on Blu-ray, unbeknownst to you, but you picked this out. And I was like, I think I own this on Blu-ray. I watched it about a decade ago, and didn't have a clear remembering of it. As soon as I started watching it, I was like, oh yeah, it's this movie.
Yeah, so we were doing this summer slasher, and I kind of I don't have the audience out there might kind of pick up that maybe I have disdain for that version of horror. I really I don't. But I also want to be honest too. Like to me, horror was only ever a slasher or Friday the 13th or that kind of thing, and that's just not true. as as all the classic, just really good genres of horror. I had no idea it could be such a tapestry of refinement and how a movie can be shown. Really, truly. So this is cool to kind of revisit this. And I pulled up the YouTubes and the searches and the AIs, and they said, "Hey, well, you're looking at this, and what about that one?" And I said, "The Burning." Okay, well, let's check it out because this fits in with this. And this just came out, just missed the Friday the 13th by a smidge, but it was written and in production before when the other one was too. So when Friday the 13th came out, but this had wholly its own original idea of the summer camp and the slasher and this horror begins with a sin. For these kind of slasher revenge things or some kind of thing, this is definitely on the nose for that. However, this is unique and interesting because it did its own version of the slasher, which later was maybe built on by another house by Friday the 13th. But it takes its own unique thing, and it has some things to say. Very interesting. This was like you had mentioned Weinstein. This is one of Harvey Weinstein's first initial projects with Miramax.
It is the first.
Yep. Yeah, it is the first. Yeah,
his first movie. Yeah.
Yep, and his brother, I think, had anyway.
Bob,
it was it was the original thing. So it's also kind of funny. There's a lot of things. I don't want that to overshadow kind of what this movie is and where it comes from and what it presents. But very unique, good special effects. Pretty unique things. It has its own opinion of what a slasher should be within this genre, and it was one of the very first ones. So I think it's very interesting how you go into this and normal points if this were like a traditional slasher, so to speak, and you can't really say that about this because it is a traditional slasher because it was first. So it's just interesting that rigmarole there that where you would normally have the gas pedal and the brake in this film. It kind of flips them around a little bit and has you just very interesting. And I was so happy that you had this. Before I go into any further, what is your history with this? Because I know you own the thing, and I had no idea that this is the perfect synergy. Like when you have a serious physical media person like Thomas and a serious movie person who is also Thomas, it's really cool to be able to kind of. They're like, oh yeah, I got it over here.
Yeah, let me dig that out. But yeah, no, yeah, I can't say that. Well, like I told you last week with Sleepaway Camp, we're hitting all the camp movies obviously for summer, obviously, but yeah, I wasn't a huge slasher guy. I got into horror. But I thought slashers were sort of like a bottom basement. It's the jocks that go and see these slasher movies, kind of lowbrow horror. So I didn't ever really invest too much energy into slasher movies. Although I've come around in my older age. I've started revisiting stuff. Back in the day, The Burning was what I felt after eating a big plate of nachos. But yeah, no, I had not heard of The Burning, and evidently it wasn't a huge hit when it came out. So the Shout Factory did a nice Blu-ray of it back in 2013. I was looking at my purchase history on Amazon, and I got it back in 2016. I'm sure it was mentioned on some horror podcast or something, and I thought, oh, okay, I'll check that out. Also, at the time, I was getting a bunch of Scream Factory horror movies, because Scream Factory, if Scream Factory was putting it out, more than likely it was worth a watch. So I definitely picked that up. Blu-ray still available on Groove for like $15. I looked, but they just recently, as of 3 years ago, they did a new 4K restoration of it. So if you want to get that, I think I gave Mike the link there. So if you wanted to pick this up at Groove, they're the one-stop shop for Scream Factory and Shout Factory Blu-rays and 4Ks. But yeah, and they also do sales as well, so you may be able to get that. Well, yeah, that's so the quickly the physical media. So yeah, I didn't know a whole lot about the movies, but there's a really great comment. There's a couple of commentary tracks and a bunch of behind the scenes stuff, and I'll give you a sampling of the cool stuff that I learned about this. But to set it up, it's another summer camp movie, where it's one of those movies where the sleepaway camp didn't suffer from this because they cast age appropriately, but they didn't get too much into nudity. In this one, they wanted some nudity, so they cast a little older than what. so there was constantly a confusion in this movie of, are they a counselor or are they a kid? Because they're pretty much, that guy may be older than the counselor himself and playing a teenager. What's going on here? Cropsy, he was a caretaker that no one really liked, evidently, and so he gets they do a prank on him. We're just pranking you, bro, and it goes wrong, and Cropsy gets all burned over, and takes about 5 years to recover. And he shows back up to a new camp because his previous camp is closed, I think. And he decides to take revenge on the young people. And this is actually based off a real campfire story, and that kind of circulated in the New York area, and I'm sure it spread far and wide. You hear these sort of legends, and these kind of legends, they kind of remind me of the creepypastas of the internet age, where with the back rooms and the various Slender Man and all of that. But the thing about these legends in the 80s, 70s, and 80s, there was nobody to fight copyright on this. so I think with the newer movies that are coming out, I think they're running into a situation of when you start making money, someone starts looking to sue, whereas on this, and I gave you a link, since it was based off of a real myth or whatever. There's a documentary called Cropsy that I saw this back in the early 2010s. It was actually pretty good. It kind of looks at the urban legend to see if there's any basis in reality, and they do find some interesting things. So that's definitely, and that documentary kind of inspired people to revisit this movie as well, even though they don't mention it directly, I don't think, in that. But yeah, so you got your crazed killer, you got your teenagers hanging out at summer camp, and what could go wrong?
Yeah, well, this does its own way. Yeah, you start at the movie, and it really does have a good preamble. Cracking open the boomer juice there.
Got my patent certified boomer juice of Monster going. But yeah, so you said that this was actually written and in production or trying to get in production at the same time or even before Friday the 13th.
Yes. So it's story in origins, in design, or its own. And then you just have a coincidence, and that's not dissimilar from how things happen. A rush happens. You had a spate of clones, copycats. Some would say that they are for, whether they're the Ghostbusters or Transformers and GoBots, whatever, blah blah blah.
Uh-huh.
But
yeah, and Harvey Weinstein had a very successful music production company or promotion with this other guy, but him and his brother Bob Weinstein wanted to get into movies, and they thought, well, with easiest way into movies is to do a low budget horror movie, and Tony Malum, who's the director, they got him. He had done a couple of successful music documentary or music movies. One was I think with Yes, and the other one was I forget the name of it, but yeah, he did a couple of success. White Rock was the other one that he did, and so they say, hey, do you want to come over to the States and because he's British, do a little horror movie? And he decided to go ahead and do that. Not Yes, it was Genesis concert movie. He did that and White Rock. That impressed him, and actually, I think the Weinsteins brought it over, distributed over to America, and within that, they asked him if he wanted to work on it. The movie, he said yes, and he worked with them, Harvey Weinstein, and I believe he brought in Peter Lawrence to work on the screenplay as well. He said that most of the work on the screenplay was done by Peter Lawrence. In the commentary, it was kind of interesting because he kept going on and on. In the writer's credit, it's Harvey Weinstein, Tony Malum, and Brad Gray. And he said that Brad Gray, he was just Harvey's buddy. He wasn't. He did no writing on this, so he thinks that might have been just a. Hey, buddy, I'll give you this credit, But he went on to do some big things in Hollywood with Paramount, I believe. But yeah, he also was managing comedians, and he said that the big contribution that he did was he kind of worked with getting the camp going, and also the camp counselor was one of his comedian guys. So
yeah, that's like, and just to kind of touch on the couple of things for Harvey, and then we can close it up, and if it comes back up, it'll come back up. But the Miramax, that's he names that after his mom and dad. So
Miriam,
yeah. And this is not the reason why we're talking about this is just because this happened to be the first one, and it's also pivotal for who made it, what it was for when the time that it was made. And also this is like he's the back end guy, right? So he's getting it,
and it's the first time of an allegation. The allegation was made by, I guess, one of the people that worked on it. One of the ladies accused him of something on the set of this. So he got in there right at the beginning.
and so he's raising the money. He conceives getting the story, the company, all that, the package assembled for it's a first timer. It's not an auteur vision or
he's not the Harvey Weinstein of the day. He was he's sort of baby Weinstein working his way up to all the horrendous things he did. Also, it was kind of interesting listening to like Tom Savini, who did the makeup effects, and also the director. Them kind of skate around because all the commentary and interviews happened before the Me Too stuff. So, but they kind of skated around. Their talk about Harvey and his brother Bob. They very very hardworking. They do great at what they do.
Absolutely.
But yeah, at the end of the movie, I think the production, they had kicked Tony out of the editing room, and it was just the editor and the two Weinsteins editing it. So that was, and also Harvey and Bob tried to get Tom Savini to do redo the ending, which Tom Savini didn't believe that was he wanted to remain copacetic with everybody, and he kind of stepped away and said, "No, I don't want to do that."
Yeah. Yeah, and I know that Friday the 13th came out in 1980, but this one was the class of 81, like so to speak. They filmed
right, and it's before all the trappings of and cliches of a serial killer movie. So it did some interesting thing. Is there a final girl? No. Yeah, the 2 slasher movies we picked so far have had no final girls.
Yeah, the
final bros.
Yeah, well, for one, it was. For sure. This film was filmed the same summer as Part 2. So that's where but it was in theaters a week.
Yeah, interestingly enough, Tom Savini, who did the special effects on Friday the 13th, turned down the second Friday the 13th because he was like, he said this is bogus. He goes, Jason was a kid at the end of Friday the 13th, and you got a grown up Jason in the sequel. That don't make no sense. And he liked the script of The Burning. So they got him to do the special effects on this one.
Yeah. Either way, I consider this to be foundational for a slasher because it does it by its own rules. It doesn't follow in what was before because it's original from that standpoint, and that's where these were before it's foundational because it lays out some of the rules that it writes, but before they existed in other things that were permutations of this that all kinds of different things. But this one really plays with it doesn't get you to, it rewards your patience, I think, but like I said, the gas and the brake where you would normally have this, there's a lot of where you think they're going to hit the gas, like for example that they bait you or they whet your appetite, I'll say. So you get a strong foundational corner with the killer and what happened to him and how it happened. And then we 5 years later, here he's coming, and we see his presumably his first in a long line of murders that kind of satisfy us over for like kind of building the tension. And then this movie goes a lot of in and out to like where you're, it's the girl's shower and you get the classic topless, scene in the shower.
We're a sleepaway camp where you mainly got man ass and things like that, and no boobs. This movie kind of makes up for that
a little bit. I mean, but it's not overly gratuitous.
Gratuitous, yeah.
I think that is reasonably tasteful for what this film is. I mean, this movie is a horror film after all. But for what you get, and you get Alfred, kind of like this creeper who kind of he plays a part later on, but not like we think he would. There's a lot of head fakes on this. So like where you kind of get this the sense that this Cropsy guy is out there, this guy that these kids that you figure out who's who later, from Todd, to who Dave is, to who, what is the guys that they call him? Anyway, it didn't matter. He's a Kilman nickname, but
Glazer,
Glazer.
Meathead.
I was thinking about the smaller guy.
Oh, the
kind of
incel.
But
the autistic case, Alfred.
No, it wasn't him. It was I mentioned him before. It was it doesn't really matter who these people, but it plays with you.
You got Woodstock. You got Dave.
Woodstock. That's who it was. It was Woodstock. That little character. But anyway. They set the table very well, and then you get camp life, and you kind of get these are the counselors, the head honchos running it, and they're older generation of the kids that came before and did the camp, and the biggest thing is like excommunication. Like if you're kicked out of camp, that's it for you. So you don't want to be there, and then you kind of have this very 80s, very early 80s, sensibilities and things. You still got the stink of the 70s, kind of, but you're creeping into the 80s, yeah. But it fundamentally works, for what it is. And the other thing too, I was kind of joke about for the Weinstein thing is like there are also repeated scenes in here, like where. It was the 80s, and no didn't necessarily mean no, which is in the film. It's just period. It's just part of the landscape that you get. But it's also kind of humorous too, a little bit.
Yeah, and think about the Sleepaway Camp was it wasn't too creepy, and this one isn't either. You know, the 70s kind of had a sleaze to it. Yeah, there's kind of a little stank on it, and this one, there's not a, it doesn't linger too hard onto things. You know, it gets to be cringe, but then it kind of steps back. You gotta enjoy some of the. It does a good job with the humor aspect of it. And I think it also is beneficial that Tony Malum doesn't specialize in horror movies. He's not a horror director, so he does a good job with this. And I think it helps that he had an old hand with Tom Savini there to do like the horror scenes. He helped kind of craft those, and then the editor also kind of helped that in the editing. But to find the correct pacing for a horror movie. But yeah, this is I think since he's not a horror aficionado, he doesn't get tied down to maybe some of the cliches that are there for it. And also, you got they did a wonderful job of casting, which they did. Usually with a Miramax movie, you got some good actors in it, and maybe by just by happenstance, you got Fisher Stevens, you got Holly Hunter, who's barely in it, and the big show is I did not know George's origin story. This is George. This is how George becomes George. You got Jason Alexander.
Yeah, well, the casting is perfectly fine, and the acting is a little bit, I think, a little bit more steady paced than Sleepaway Camp. But Sleepaway Camp, it was not horrible at all. It wasn't, super big, awesome. It wasn't also horrible. It was a good eclectic mix of the talent range, which was mostly people who don't know how to act, and they all kind of they held down the storyline enough for you to go with it and for you to take it seriously. This no different here, but I will say this.
I think
you are subverted with the thing that gets me with this one is the audience is constantly subverted with the gas and the brake pedal with this. So if you go into this with a traditional horror slasher thing and the pacing for kills and things like that, you won't find it because it does it its own way. Anyway, that's what I wanted to get in there. And then, in addition to all the young George Costanza, who was not fat and who's not bald and who was very young.
Yeah, there. Yeah, there. Yeah. No, in all the interviews that were on the Blu-ray, they all talked about how funny Jason Alexander was and how he kind of gave the life to the film set, and also him and Fisher Stevens together did a really good job of just keeping everything. Everybody in a light mood and enjoying the set. I think I don't think the movie would have been quite the same without the two of them. They kind of bring a charm to it. They said that the two of them were ad-libbing throughout the movie, and really, I think. If you're going to ding the movie for one thing, it's that it never finds the protagonist. There's never really a protagonist in the movie that they focus on. There's never anyone you focus on. There's
not for those reasons anyway. Not for hero or worth a damn or has a story that comes to completion for what's in camp versus that. Not really.
Right. Well, you go from you don't never really see the movie through anyone's particular eyes. You kind of go from person to person. Alfred is sort of maybe
he's the closest.
He's the closest, but the long stretches of the movie, he's just kind of creeping on people. He's being a little creeper, watching people have sex and just creeping around. And
he's the most consistent outside of Cropsy, like where you get the death vision. Where you think something's going to happen with the murder, and nothing does. And then all of a sudden, a lot of shit starts piling up right away. Right. That's why I say if you're patient with this film, it does reward you. And agree, it's always on that balance of like either cringe or annoyance, to like, okay, what are we, like, they spent a lot of time with Alfred and the girl shower, him being
Yeah,
super and
yeah,
like, oh, I wanted to scare her, and oh,
yeah.
it's like, okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
you never
sure, you
really
wanted to scare her.
understand who he is, who
Yeah,
Alfred is, and yeah, he could be a
Alfred is
in the
not
I would
Tim.
assume in the sequel that never gets made and that never got made. He could have been the killer in the next movie. Who knows? Because you never really understand who he is and. How perverted or weird he is, I called him the incel or
Right.
kind of autistic. But you kind of look at him and you can't really you try to put yourself in the eyes of the protagonist, and Alfred really kind of creeps you out at certain times, and so it kind of makes you step out of the movie. And then the male the guy counselor at times you're like you feel like maybe he's the protagonist, but he's never really there long enough to really kind of invest yourself into, and you kind of get kind of bonded with the Jason Alexander and Fisher Stevens characters, but they're not in it that much either. They disappear as well, so it's kind of an interesting movie in that respect. You're kind of bouncing from person to person, and there are some female characters that you get to know, like the girl that's not really into the guy, but kind of likes him still. The director did say like that girl, I forget her name. She was like a USA beauty or whatever, beauty queen. That he told her, hey, you're going to be naked and running around in the woods there. Are you cool with that? And she's like, yeah, I'm cool with that. And then they go to shoot that, and she's like, I don't know about this. He said that she really got freaked out. Whereas the girl in the shower, she was all for it. She's like, she had no problem. And then Glazer, when he's running around butt naked in the
Oh yeah.
woods, he didn't care either. But yeah, evidently he was older than most everybody on the set, and he was one of the teenagers. Glazer.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to like, who are we supposed to kind of follow and kind of tag
Right.
along with outside of, that's not the killer, that's
Mm-hmm.
not part of this thing. And there's also kind of like, it's also like arm's distance away too, like with the even getting to know the killer. Like there's a they spent a lot of time on the origin of the killer, and like some of these kids are awful. They're just awful, just
Mm-hmm.
genuinely awful kids with a prank. And then you kind of see him recovering, or his kind of recovery story, and then you spend a lot of time in it. You don't know anything about this guy other than like it's bachelor pad, and it's a good idea to keep your gasoline and other flammable material right next to your whiskey, right next to your sleeping bed, and never mind that. But then you have these idiot kids who think it's a great idea to do this prank with a lit candle with a awful looking, macabre wax face or
Yeah,
whatever.
was that a real skull? You gotta
Yeah.
wonder, where did they get this thing?
Yeah, so it's like they just put a lot of time and effort, and apparently it was kind of like it was just retribution trading retribution, from the kid's perspective to this guy, to like
Yeah.
they really got after this guy, and it really got him. But then you spend this time, and then there's the orderly and this new doctor, this whatever, and then when the burn unit, man, you got to see this guy's this guy's fucked up. Like this guy's a freak, man. Like he's like, aside from that, and then you see this just fried bologna hand grab, which was excellent work by Tom Savini and all this. Like there's a reason why
Yeah.
those guys made a name for themselves. And then you spend all this time, and then you go, and then you kind of get dumped off, and then you're kind of waiting for the other thing to kind of pick up. And essentially it's just waiting for his mark, his moment, and he finds it. Oh boy, he finds it. And then it kind of goes along, but it does there's this constant tension, like to where there isn't really a center pull in any of it for who are we supposed to follow outside of the killer. And the reason why I bring up the killer is because it's like we're spending all this time to humanize him or to kind of know his story or to know something or other, and then it's kind of, well, what was the point? It's kind of like, but sometimes some things are just kind of it's kind of for the payoff. I don't know
Right.
that you necessarily get for or why that was, but again, it was the first at bat for Harvey, and this was his creative story too.
Yeah.
He definitely had input, and he definitely had
Mhm.
output on it. But you just kind of wonder like how much of the Alfred was in there, and the creepy, the nose and all that stuff. But
Yeah,
um,
the pervert angle. Yeah, yeah, you gotta wonder. Like I said, who is the true villain of this movie? But the Cropsy, he's played by Lou David, I believe. I kept thinking of him while watching the movie as not Brad Dourif because he looks so much like, or Timu Brad Dourif because he looks so
oh,
much. He's sort of kind of reminded me of Brad Dourif, especially out of makeup. But yeah, and in makeup, when he's doing the killing, at certain points, Tom Savini's playing the character, and the director
yeah.
Tom Malin, like in this scene, he none of the people playing Cropsy could get like the light shining on the garden shears, so he's the director is there doing that scene, so he played him a lot. To get the and you can't say enough about Tom Savini. There's a really nice interview with him, 20-minute interview. Oh, and this stunt right here is interesting. He kind of talked about it. Obviously, yeah, they're as safe as they can be in the 80s, early 80s, but is a small budget, so things could go wrong. He did the when Cropsy gets burned, he does the burned leg thing. It's kind of a neat thing in there where, like, he's doing they're filming his legs being burned, and he's doing that, and all of a sudden he just kind of crosses his legs and just kind of hangs out because they're done with the scene, and they spray. So he's like with his legs crossed with his legs on fire, and they spray him off like a badass. And then when they were doing the scene where the Cropsy busts out of the door on fire. That was done by Reed Randall, I believe his name is. He's the son of another stunt guy, and they said that they'd all had it kind of planned out where Tom Savini would have the torch, he would run in, and he said that there's the thing was done up to where it was kind of slippery, and the father was there. He said, "You're going to hand me the torch. I'll light things up, and then Reed's going to set himself on fire and run out the door because when he runs out, you see the cabin on fire underneath that, and so they say action, and Tom Savini comes running in. It's so slick that he kind of." Slipped and threw the torch up in the air, and and it was like, okay, go. So it was like crazy, but yeah, and it went off without a hitch, and that Reed, he did a good job, but unfortunately, like a few years later, he died on the set of Airwolf, doing a plane stunt, but yeah, but it just shows you, very, very dangerous stuff that they're doing, and it's it's amazing that things don't go wrong. But yeah, they take every precaution, but things happen. Yeah, this is one of the funnier scenes. Very enjoyable.
Yeah, they spent and I appreciated it too. By the way, like the kind of camp life, I guess, is like slice of life type thing. Even though this is a horror film and whatever, it does build that connective tissue for you to care about some of these people a little bit. Not like you should, like a main protagonist like there, but some of them you can't help but like they're on screen person. Some are a little bit grating, but I think that's kind of the you get a good time with the females, and you get a good time with the males as well.
Yeah.
And the other thing too, like this doesn't do, like, it's not at night, it's not campfire. I mean, there's a little bit of that element, but when retribution comes and it's time and it's go time, it happens just bright daylight. And so I think that was just it's very interesting that it wouldn't go with go on type, that where you think
I think
the big what I'm talking about is like where your patience it pays off. If there's like a big massive kind of like where you get him, he cashes in all,
Yeah,
not all at once, but like
yeah.
I think that I have no doubt that was made. It's very, very well made, as far as it can be, like for the special effects. I mean, that
Yeah,
scene, the raft scene, is what I'm talking about. But like
yeah,
that, it does kind of feel like it is payoff for waiting for, like,
yeah.
you get the origin kill kind of, I guess, and then you kind of get
Mhm.
a little bit, you get a one or two onesie twosies here, and then, but for the most part, it's very quiet. But there's a lot
Mhm.
of baiting. There's a lot of, you think that he's gonna hit the gas, and he's hitting the brake, and he's slowing down and coasting on, like,
Mhm.
where you see the killer vision, and you see that way too much, or maybe not
Yeah,
too
with
much, but
the
like,
Vaseline around
yeah, the smear thing.
the.
Like, it's kind of like, okay, you're intentionally telling me that this is what I should pay attention to,
Yeah,
but over and
yeah.
over and over again, it
Cropsy needs to
doesn't.
go to lens crafters and maybe get his
Something.
vision checked before he goes out killing.
Yeah,
And maybe they could do some ad work with that.
yeah, they do spin, and you almost kind of feel like there's going to be something there too at the very beginning too, like when you start to get a good brush of camp life, and they're playing a ball game, and the ball goes in the woods or whatever, and it kind of goes, and then this Cropsy dude,
Yeah,
the killer, he's always watching on the fringe, so he's always out
yeah.
there. uh,
Hmm. It's
he's
always watching you.
right, a presence, and nobody is really,
Hmm.
you know at points they bait you with, well, maybe the campers are, and the people in the camp are aware. They never really are aware of this until,
Until it's too late. But yeah, I think with the camp life, I think Sleepaway Camp does a better job of making a more realistic kind of a camp. Obviously, they're both
yeah,
movies, so you
this
can't
is
get
how
too
I
realistic.
think
Yeah,
this is like the better movie version of Camp
yeah,
Life
it's a
versus
movie Camp
Sleepaway
Live. Yeah,
is
definitely.
much more real. I think they capture that perfect, and I think that's why it works so well too, for
Yeah.
Sleepaway Camp, to its
Yeah,
credit.
yeah. Whereas this movie is doing something a little bit different.
A little bit
There,
more polished, a
it's
little bit more
yeah, more
structured.
hyper realized. They,
Yeah.
yeah, like I said, you're kind of confused at times of who's the kids and who's the adults here, because of the age in casting. But yeah, this is I do enjoy the interactions. Like Jason Alexander's great. He's
Mhm.
got some great one-liners there. Um, I think where him and Stevens are looking, or the other guys looking at the Playboy, and he's blessing the mother and father of the girl in the centerfold, and the interactions on the condoms. But yeah, it's just there's a Jason, even though Jason Alexander, his character is kind of sleazy and says some awful things. He does it with such a charm that it never approaches sleaze. It's they're always in a good natured, haha. No one's left out of the joke. He's including everybody. He's the guy that you would like to be around, and
Right.
and that sort of charisma and really helps out the movie. I think without him in this movie, it would have been a different beast altogether. I think it'd be
Oh,
much more kind of by the numbers horror.
you would have had nobody to introduce, kind of the ape that is Glazer. You would have had no way to really introduce, Alfred. You had no way of introduce, the Todd, the main guy, and the camp mother or whatever, Leia, Ayers, plays. Anyway, but it's still, his character is, the guy who you go to. He's the guy. He's the guy that he wants. He'll be your guy. If you need this, or
Right.
you need
Yeah.
that, or you need rubbers,
Yeah.
or or
Right. When he's focused his attention
pornography.
on you, you think, oh yeah, I'm in the spotlight now.
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
you enjoy that.
yeah, and kind of like that, the guy, in a group, and this is definitely more on the adult side of it, more, not so much on the teenage adolescent side. I don't really think I think that's kind of sort of implied a little bit, but it's not there. It's more of like, young adult, true young adult in their 20s, late
Yeah.
teens, coming off of,
Mhm.
maybe making a turn or a trip back to camp, and before they go off and do something forever, but outside of that, but
Yeah.
just hyper realized is right. I think it's still there, but I thought this was an interesting slasher ultimately,
Yep.
and it did things its own way, and I appreciate too.
Right. And also, with the slasher element, the big thing is the kills, and they do deliver, because you got Tom Savini. He's always going to bring his A game. I think the big centerpiece, the thing that everybody always talks about with this movie, is the raft scene. Of course, there's some Cropsy. He takes out 5 kids all at once. And I think it's a masterclass, and also in special makeup effect, but also in editing, like with Fisher Stevens with his hands cut. I mean, it's obviously a big foam hand, right? A foam hand you lop off, and if they linger too long on it, like we are now, it looks stupid. But or it can look stupid. But doing that. But in motion, if you do quick cuts, it looks really cool. And you got to remember, this is 1981. This is very start of these slasher type movies where the gore gets more and more intense. These gore effects, there was not like a book you could pull off the shelf and say, this is how you do killings with a garden shear, and then you can do it this way, or this way. No, Tom Savini was inventing all these ways of killing people. There's a little bit of the director said that they had planned these kills ahead of time, and Tom Savini says that he kind of put these together. So there's kind of maybe where's the truth in that, but obviously Tom Savini is the guy that puts it into effect. So they may have had these come up with these kind of crazy ideas, but Tom Savini was the one that actually delivered the goods, so to speak. But yeah, it's kind of interesting to see his behind the scenes stuff that he shot to kind of like with this scene. There's the Cropsy, he's got those shears in his neck, and he's got him up in the air, and Glazer, you see his little legs dangling. The cool thing about that was they had this these bars, wooden bars, sort of like almost like gymnastic bars, where Glazer, with the actor, he was holding onto these bars and lifting himself up, much like a gym person. So that they could walk, and the shears, sort of like arrow through the head, kind of wacky Steve Martin thing, where the shears went around his neck. So if you see on his shoulder there's kind of a bump next to his cheek. That's the metal kind of curving over him and going to so they could really get it stuck into the wood behind there, and it did a really good job of really getting that to look that way. But yeah, a lot of very cool kind of ideas on how to get these things to go through there. A lot of interesting, like I said, kills. Tom Savini, the makeup effect on Cropsy is a little whatever, kind of more melting than burning. But give Tom Savini credit. He said he only had 3 days to do that makeup effect. So I think he did a pretty decent job for what he did. And you don't want to it'd probably be unsettling if it really looked like a burn victim, because burn victims, you got to feel for them, but it's not something you really want to look at too long.
you have probably the ultimate roll up for a burn victim killer, whatever, like where they literally telegraph every step of the way, like from the horrific nature of his burns and his injuries. And
he's there before Freddy Krueger,
yeah, well, that and then he's got they're wheeling him out of the hospital as he's done. Is like, this is as good. They literally say, this is as good as it gets.
Yeah. Good luck, buddy. go find you a whore and maybe kill her.
And then you double, triple down on it with the orderly. The black orderly was like, "Man, this guy's a freak." You know?
Yeah, guy, you gotta look at this guy.
And then you see you're rewarded with the hamburger arm coming out to grab that, like the fried bologna arm. Anyway, it works very well. It is melted, but without Tom in this, Tom Savini, this would not have been that, because the level of seriousness and the effects come through, and the for the most part, I think the cast matches that pacing for that. But this is also a one loop story too, which is interesting. It's just interesting that they spent so much time on the beginning and the killer, and then you don't really know. He's this poor ugly bastard. You just don't know anything about him. Aside from he's probably absolutely awful in his own right. Never mind what he chooses to do after he's horribly maimed by these kids, and they're not really kids either. Too, I mean, they definitely knew what they were doing, and they were all together. And he even the other thing too is I think Todd, even tells it just open confession time of what Cropsy, what this kind of a little bit of a ghost story kind of sort of, tension building when he does that, which is just a very interesting movie that knows how to reference itself, and knows how its thing. You're subverted. If you come into this like a normal thing, you are probably gonna be. You have to put in your mind and understand this was foundational. This is like one of the OGs, how it did it, and it did it in a unique way, which I think is just interesting. I think adds to slashers. I don't know too much about slashers, but I have no doubt by the time that we're done with our series, I'll know a lot more for sure.
Yeah, we'll have a good foundation.
I did like the movie.
Yeah.
I did like it.
Yeah, and I think it's probably by design that we're kind of starting with the first slasher movies, without obviously we could have been lazy and picked out all the famous ones, but I've been enjoying. I was going to say also a little cute story about Tom Savini is a lot of them were kind of working out of hotel rooms and whatnot, and they got the hotel room for Tom Savini. And he had to be moved because there's all these big spiders in his room, and he was very frightened of the spiders. So it's kind of funny that this big special effects guy is kind of frightened by spiders. But also the kids all liked hanging out with him and seeing all the stuff that he was creating, and they kept asking him, how am I going to get killed? He said that it was a kind of a fun set to be on. One of the things I was going to say also, great cast. You got all these famous people. I forgot to mention, and you have to pardon me, but I've got to backtrack a little bit with Sleepaway Camp. I was going to say this, and it may be just funny to me, but it was on one of the commentary tracks. The guy at the very beginning of that movie, there's a dad and the two kids on a boat, and unfortunately the dad gets killed, and then one of the kids gets killed. The little boy on there actually is the brother of the Situation from Jersey Shore. He's
really?
Yes. So yeah, the Situation has a connection to Sleepaway Camp. Both movies were filmed in either New York or New Jersey. They both have that kind of East Coast kind of a vibe to them, which you gotta enjoy. But yeah, this movie also, I guess we're getting towards the end. We can maybe do a little bit spoilers on it. Yeah, I found it interesting. We don't have a final girl. It's kind of interesting. The one of the people that survive is probably a virgin, which is Alfred,
Yeah.
but he's not
Very
the saint, the saintly character that most final girls are. He's not really a final boy. He's kind of a pervy boy. So, and also the Todd, this ending isn't as shocking as the previous movie, but this one we find out that Todd was one of the creeps that kind of set Cropsy up and was instrumental in him getting burned. It's kind of interesting. It kind of shades the rest of the movie because at one point he's doing a campfire story and kind of telling the Cropsy story. And he was the active participant and he's proliferating this story. It's like he that was one of the other things about the character development in this movie. There's absolutely none. You have to guess yourself to think, well, he's being nice to, he's trying to be a good counselor. Is he trying to make up for what he's doing? But he doesn't have any remorse. It doesn't seem like, though.
And this is the thing that where this movie absolutely falls on its fucking face for, which is that they spend so much time with Todd and how he's the head counselor, whatever, and he's the guy in charge, and he has this back and forth with the female version of him, the female camp
counselor,
camp counselor, and she's like, and he is just, he's trying to take care of, he's trying to balance, Alfred being a knucklehead and being a boy, but it's also it's a problem, and it's very clearly a problem, and he's like, and she says to him. She says something like, "Oh, why do you always see the best in people?" Essentially, and it's like, "Well, hold on a second, and then and then he kind of lays down the law, and he's like, he tries to show the Alfred, hey, look, man, I get it. What is going on here? Why are you doing this?" And he's like, "I'm lonely, and nobody likes me, and I get picked on, and I'm still in the shit tier thing." And he's like, "Well, come to me, and I'll talk to you. I'll include you." And then there's been this time, and then he has this interaction with Glazer, who's this meathead, and then he's telling Glazer, "Don't beat this guy up. Leave him alone. Like I took care of it, whatever." But nobody's really happy with it. I say all this to say, like, we spent all that time there just to kind of feel like, wait a second, you're that's why you're whipsawed, and like, well, maybe he's changed or grown or whatever, but it's immaterial to the story because how it's laid out, there's no, like Tom said, there is no, there's indications of this, but there's no real true payoff of like, because again, you're only getting to know the snapshot. You're not really there to really know who Todd is or his backstory or that. You're definitely here to know Cropsy's story, and what the end result was for that. But again, nobody really kind of learns anything or does anything, like, which is kind of like, I guess, the point of horror films, like, because there's a sin and it's the excitation of that sin or the furthering of that. I don't know. It's not that deep. It's just a slasher, and that's kind of I think that the thing that it just falls on its face for. But for what it does and what it is, it serves itself. It serves up a perfectly good story and a good.
Yeah, and knowing the context of Harvey Weinstein, it's interesting to kind of look through it in that aspect.
You can't help but add that. You just can't help it. You can't help but ask that natural next step question is like, well, I wonder how much of this is in that, but anyway.
Right. Yeah. The more ambiguity of the characters, how much of that is Harvey Weinstein's influence. But it's a sort of a time capsule. It's really cool seeing Holly Hunter as a young teenager running around the woods with a young Jason Alexander and Fisher Stevens. It's not the best movie in the world, obviously, but it's a fun hour and a half to spend with that. And it's reasonably paced. It gets a lot of tension out of a geeky guy running to get his vitamins. And maybe there's a killer. But there's a scene towards the end where the Todd, he's in the lair. Oh, and also the movie was the ending was supposed to take place in a cave, but they kind of went in, and Tom Savini said that they kind of scouted the cave, and then they went back to it, and all these boulders had fallen down where they were going to film, and it was like, oh, well, yeah, maybe that's not safe. So let's. So they went to sort of like this mining barn or whatever. But yeah, there's a scene where Todd kind of falls through this door or whatever, and he sees one of the ladies that had previously been killed, but she wasn't there at the shooting, so it was like just a freeze frame of her. Yeah. And really, really bad special effects there to get her in the scene. Yeah. Very, very bad. And the director in his commentary said, "Yeah, that was all Harvey. I had nothing to do with that. That was all done when he was doing his editing. Him and Bob thought that was a really cool idea to throw her in there." But yeah, she's that wasn't his idea. The director didn't claim that one. But yeah, so yeah, overall, it's a fun movie. I can see where it's not like anyone's like top tier, slash, their favorite slasher movie of all times. But it's fun for what it is.
Yeah, I think it goes it by its technical merits, I guess, like it being none other, like it did a very good job of being a slasher and what it is. But it doesn't venture too much off that path, and the parts where it does go deeper on are kind of confusing, and they don't necessarily add up to the overall thing. But again, it's a slasher.
Yeah. It is what it is.
for what it is, it does have a place in the foundational as a pillar of this thing, because it did it in a
one of the first,
completely different ways. And again, I think it works because it doesn't lose the inherent nature of what a slasher is supposed to be, which is a lot of bodies, a lot of gore, and some kind of grievance or something, or whether it's real or not, it doesn't matter. But it does it again. I think it subverts you with the gas and the brake, and that's a good thing. I think that's it knows its pacing pretty well, and it almost damn near loses you a couple times, because what you can only do the smeared, music thing too many times before it gets to be okay. One more time, and if there's no kills, I'm done. Not quite. Again, it almost gets there, but it has a balance with it. So you can definitely tell. And if this is the first cut of him being in producing, you can tell he had a sense of timing, and he knew he definitely had some greatness there that was there. Not saying that Harvey Weinstein is the greatest of whatever, but he did give us movies, and whether we like them or not, they're out there, and they're always going to be out there. And
and with reading in between the lines, from what the director said in commentary, you got the sense that there was a tension there. Tom Savini outright said there was a falling out between Tony, the director, and Harvey and Bob, especially with the editing of it. And there's an interview with the editor, Jack Shoulder. The kind of reconfirmed that he was kind of pissed off that Harvey kind of shut out the director, but and you can tell that from the Tony stories that Harvey was always kind of looking over Tony's shoulders and maybe thinking that he could do maybe better as a director. And Harvey did try directing afterwards to disastrous effects, and Tony did say later on, a few years later, Harvey said, I was completely wrong. It is harder than it looks. You were doing your job. And it was kind of telling that Tony never did direct another film for the Weinsteins. So, but yeah, it's interesting.
Good. Honestly.
Absolutely.
Considering the baggage that Harvey collected and human. But,
right.
It is what it is.
Oh, I was going to say, now we've been running a total on body counts. Last week we disagreed with the official body count, and we decided last week's is a total of 10 people. I'll fix that. I didn't realize that the little Gemini in your beard. I'll correct that for our thumbnail.
Oh yeah, no worries, no worries.
It's kind of throwing me off with the Gemini, but but this week, on the official on the body count wiki, it says 10, but it includes Cropsy. I don't believe Cropsy's dead, so I'm not going to count him.
Interesting.
Yeah. Do you agree or do you disagree?
I have no fucking clue, and I will never take this movie's word for shit for who is
right.
dead or who is not dead. But
right. Are we going to agree? I don't have a problem with agreeing with the wiki.
Yeah, no, 9 because the killer is if he's off, that's 10, great. But if 9, and also by his hand, by
his hand. Let's go with by the killer's hand body count. Okay, yeah. So last week was 10. This week is 9. So 19 so far. So if you're running your totals, 19, you check that off on your scorecard at home and keep up with this. By the end of the month, we'll see how many. The slasher summer has killed off.
and you could easily say too, and this is not as clear cut, by the way, too. This movie also subverts things it makes things more clear cut than not, or whatever. But well, except for Tom, but and maybe Tom can explain a little bit. But technically, if it's by his hand, he invited this on him with his 2 last victims, and they got some goddamn good wax scent too. So,
and Cropsy is like, this burning again? What's going on?
Yeah, but having said that, which is also insane too, which adds to the moment too, because of the final, because that is in the final section of the film. But you could argue, but if it's by his own hand, he's the idiot and he dies by his own victims. I mean, does his death count? No. Long wind up to say no. If you're idiotic, right. you play with that and you fight. But yeah, you would think that somebody with the burn thing would not be so quick to hop to use it as a weapon.
Right, exactly.
But it does fit in with the motif of his hatred, burning anger. Right.
Right.
But yeah, no, I think we agree on that one on 9.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I think we're closer to the end here with the caboose. Was there anything that you wanted to revisit, or because I know we kind of gabbed a little bit last show?
Not anything specific.
Raj. Okay.
Go ahead.
Oh no!
You had something to bring to the table.
No, not anything in particular. I just thought that it was just an interesting film, and I'm looking forward to seeing what other permutations of slasher
that we'll bring to the table. Yeah, I think we have some good ones.
Awesome. Well, I've been Mike.
Yeah, Tom. Keep enjoying the killer summer.
Yeah,
with their slashers.
Next time, use a knife. It's easy.